Hello folks, I wanted to touch base concerning the final course project, which is due at the end of the term. We will have of course the paper itself, the research report, and we'll also have a recorded presentation of the research report. Now, in terms of expectations for the final project, here is our course homepage. So go to modules and you will find the final project instructions. Now it's important to make sure that you include all the critical pieces, and by that I mean there's 10 points here. So what are my expectations? So for both the paper and the presentations, I am going to be looking at, do you have an introduction? Do you have methods, including the research design, methods including sampling strategy and sampling frame, data collection process, limitations, and summary. So for the introductions, what are the key things to include? In the introduction, of course, you need to have an introduction, situation analysis or background. So this is basically telling us, why is this an issue? Why should we care? Who is affected? Why is this important? So in other words, why should we bother about this type of topic? It's important to consult the literature. It's important to make sure that you have specific examples, that you provide citations if you are making any types of claims, such as for example, somebody might say numerous studies have reported on the problem of child labor. Well, then the expectation is that we should see a citation that will point us to those numerous studies. Now we also need to see the purpose statement. So what is the overall goal of the research? What is the purpose of the study? It's important to make sure that you go back to what you have already done, because this is not, you're not studying afresh. This is basically taking all the pieces that you've been working on and putting them together. Some elements might have changed, that's okay, but my hope is that you will take what you've been working on and build on that. We are also going to be looking for a specific research question. You may have the central research question and then sub-questions. Operational definitions. Now this is important, and I think for some folks this was a difficult part of the assignment. By operational definitions, what we mean here is, what are the important concepts and how do you define them for your study? Now let me give you an example. I did a study on HIV and AIDS and access discrimination of individuals who may be perceived to be HIV positive. So for my study, some of the important concepts included HIV and AIDS. What do I mean by HIV and AIDS? So I defined HIV and AIDS based on the definition that's out there for HIV and AIDS. Another thing that was important for my research was the definition of disability, because in part of what I was trying to explore was the legal issues pertaining to employment of individuals with disabilities. So it was important for me to be able to define disability according to the law, and the law in this case was the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. From there also I looked at things such as access discrimination. I was particularly interested in knowing whether people who are perceived to be HIV positive would face discrimination in terms of employment. So I needed to define what I meant by access to employment. So by defining, I mean specifically saying disability means somebody who has X, Y, and Z. For example, somebody who has limitations in terms of major life activities according to the ADA. So it's very important for you to be able to go back and make sure that you are defining those terms, that you are defining those important concepts in your study. In terms of the methods, it's important for you to be able to specifically define the research approach. This is important. If you are doing a quasi-experimental design, say so and define the specific type of quasi-experimental design. If you're using a mixed method design, go back to week 1 and week 2. Take a look at the different designs that Cresswell outlined in chapter 3 and chapter 4. The sample, define the specific sample that you're interested in. Define the population, define the characteristics of the population, and how from that larger population you're going to narrow down to a specific sample. So sampling frame. How many people would you need? What are some of the limitations in terms of access to the to your sample? Maybe language as well, maybe cultural artifacts. Define those things. What is the selection criteria? In other words, who will be included, who will be excluded? Data collection. Now, this is very important to make sure that you are answering your research questions. We need to be able to know exactly what type of data collection protocol you put in place. In your paper itself, you might discuss the specific questionnaire that you have created. One tip that I might suggest is to take the questionnaire and place it in appendix, so that you can refer to it in the body, but you don't necessarily have to have it in the method section. You could give an example of some of those items. It's important to also to be able to provide limitations. So describe the limitations affecting the research. Think broadly about threats to internal and external validity, and include those in your articulation of limitations. You may also take a look at ethical concerns as well as cultural considerations. Think back to when we started talking about some of the cultural concerns in terms of doing research in cultures that are not the same as ours. Think about the ecological framework that we discussed throughout modules 1 through 3. In terms of the summary, think about the key takeaway as well as the implications. Now, for the PowerPoint, for the presentation, the expectation is that you will develop a PowerPoint. Make sure that it's not too crowded, because you will be narrating the PowerPoint. So after you have developed your PowerPoint, open your PowerPoint and articulate or present as if you are talking to an audience. And make sure that you test your recording to make sure that you are clear and that people will be able to hear you. Save and upload your saved outline or your saved presentation. Now you can use GoToMeeting, you can use VoiceThread, and there's another tool that I will also share with you. It's called Screencast. I'll send it to you as well, so that you can take a look at it. It's easy to use. The presentation should be between 5 to 10 minutes. make sure that I can see and hear your presentation. Lastly, please send me an email should you have any questions or concerns. It's very important that you do so before next week. Don't wait until Saturday or Sunday of next week to ask questions, because I may not necessarily be available, but I want to be available. So if you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to brainstorm with you. Thank you.